I was scrolling through TikTok today and I came across a clip of Redick on the Old Man and the Three Things talking about how we don't talk about Joel Embiid enough. And it got me thinking, like, man, we kind of don't. If you think about all the Sixers storylines from the season, even before the season started, it was all James Harden related, and in the James Harden trade, and that bled into the season. And then once Harden was traded, it was talking about Tyrese Maxey breaking out. There was all this talk about Philly's versatility. Hell, there was also that, crazy story about Kelly Oubre getting hit by a car. So like on the one hand, Redick is right. We really haven't talked about Joel Embiid much. And there's definitely an argument that we should. Because what that man is doing in a vacuum is insane and really should be one of the stories of the season. Leading the league in scoring for the third straight year at over 33 points a game, career high in rebounds with over 11, and most impressively, he's averaging over 6 assists a game, which is also a career high. And to sum it all up, Embiid is on track for the highest single season player efficiency rating in NBA history. That should be worth talking about. That should be worth fawning over, right? But I think the reason we're not talking about Joel Embiid as much as maybe we should has something to do with a thing I brought up in a video about Nikola Jokic, where players, and often the greatest players, are often in these stages throughout their careers, where when they first come into the league, there's just so much unparalleled hype around them, and we just celebrate their greatness to no end because it's so awesome, because it's so new, the expectations are little. But then every superstar reaches this point where it's like, okay, we know you're great, we know you're going to put up numbers in the regular season. Can you do it in the playoffs? Can you advance far in the playoffs? Can you win a championship? At a certain point, we just don't care about what you do in the regular season because it just sort of becomes par for the course. And as much as I think it's important to value certain aspects of the regular season, there is the very real idea that the championship is what ultimately matters. And if you can't do that, you deserve some form of criticism. And the reason I bring this up is because that's exactly where Joel Embiid is at right now. This is his 8th season in the NBA, and he's accomplished literally everything else there is to accomplish. All-star, all-NBA. The last couple of years, there's been a lot of attention and a lot of praise on him because it's been part of the MVP discussion. And there's been this giant push for him to get his first MVP. And within that push was this sort of narrative of like, look how great he is, he's the MVP. So that comes with a lot of appreciation. But now that he has that MVP, it's like, okay, you have everything you could possibly do in the regular season. What's next? It's advancing past the second round. It's advancing to the finals. It's winning a championship. There's nothing more Embiid could do during the regular season to make us think more of him. And so because of that, fair or not, we're just not going to really pay so much attention to him during the regular season because that's just not what matters for him at this stage of his career. It's not what's going to push his agenda forward. It's not what's going to help his legacy. It's not what's going to help him move up the all-time ranks, which is what matters to a guy of his caliber. This isn't just any other player, any other star. This is a guy who could legitimately be one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But at this point, the only thing that's missing is the championship. We've seen it time and time again with guys, LeBron, KD, Jokic being the most recent example. We know you're great. We acknowledge you're one of the best players in the NBA, but you got to do it when it counts. And so until that time comes for Embiid to overcome that final challenge, I just don't think it's so wrong for us to just not really be. It's not about not being impressed. It's just sort of like, like what more is there to say for regular season Joel Embiid? We know he's great. We know he's a regular season legend. He finally got the validation with the MVP. Like, there's just no more left to say in that conversation. So I think everyone's just sort of, whether they admit it or not, whether they realize it or not, when it comes to Joel Embiid and the discussions we have about him, nothing's going to change until the playoffs come and he can hopefully overcome that second round hump. So yeah, that's why we're not talking about him as much.